Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. I'm Josh, and this is Caleb, and we are taking on the 4 biggest NBA offseason moves.
Yeah, lots happened. It's been almost as exciting as the regular season and playoffs so far. Actually, probably more exciting because it's less predictable.
Yeah, it really is.
So the first one we're going to talk about is Gordon Hayward moving to Boston.
The C's, baby. Raking in Gordon Hayward finally after all that debacle of whether or not he was actually coming or not, or all that weird stuff. Just waiting for that Player Tribune's letter. But nonetheless, they had to give up Avery Bradley and they couldn't re-sign Kelly Olynyk because they wanted to sign Gordon Hayward. It's definitely debatable how valuable and how much better that'll make the Celtics, considering they had to give up some depth. But they did get Marcus Morris in return for Avery Bradley, which does help with that post play. Nonetheless, that starting 5 will be pretty solid and a force to be reckoned with in the East.
Marcus Morris is going to be a little bit faster than Kelly Olynyk and maybe a little bit stronger too, although not as good of a scorer. I think the Celtics are going to be put into really good shape, and I think that this is definitely going to improve their team. Obviously, they were first in the East last year. I would definitely say they'll probably be second next year.
Yeah,
it'll be close. It'll be a close race either way.
Basically, they're guaranteed a top 2 seed in the East because of a few guys who left the conference, which we'll address later in the video.
The next move is Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves. A crazy one. Jimmy Butler was literally, his name was thrown around to every team.
Yeah. Besides the Timberwolves.
Besides the Timberwolves. Yeah, exactly. You know, Cavs, Celtics, everywhere in between. And he ends up at the Timberwolves with a bunch of young guys.
Yeah. So they sent Jimmy Butler up to Minnesota for Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn, and then of course swapping first-round picks. It looked like a great trade for the Timberwolves. They add a veteran to those 2 core stars in Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, and that's a nasty big 3 up in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, that's also young that they're gonna have a lot of time to figure out and improve, and just because of where they're at, they're not going to be expected to win that championship right away, so they won't have that pressure. The pressure will definitely not be there, too, for the Timberwolves because they're so young, and they'll have a lot of time to figure it out, bond, and grow together. And I think, you know, in the next couple years, along with the Bucks, there's going to be really exciting young teams to watch maybe rise and be the best teams in the NBA.
They definitely need a few more shooters on that team to complement guys like Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler, who aren't necessarily the best shooters out there in the NBA. So we'll see what they do in the future with putting those pieces in place before they have to re-sign and spend the big money on Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. But they're definitely a force to be reckoned with in the West now, and it opens up a lot of doors, like we said, for the Celtics and other smaller teams in the East with Jimmy Butler leaving the conference.
So next up, we have CP3, Chris Paul, headed to the Rockets.
What a pairing down there with James Harden. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there, with 2 of the leading assist guys in the NBA. Obviously, dynamic scorers and dynamic passers of the ball. It'll be a really, really fun time watching them down in Houston.
Yeah, exactly. Mike D'Antoni, this year's coach of the year. They do lose Eric Gordon, though, who was this year's 6th man of the year, along with Patrick Beverley. So that's 2 kind of big blows to their bench, and 2 of the really big key reasons that the Rockets were so good this year, because of their depth and their shooters. That was their big thing. They could put up so many threes. Chris Paul shot 41% this year from the 3, but it's just going to be really different because now who are they going to pass to besides each other?
Yeah, obviously they'll end up figuring it out and they'll figure out their dynamics together, but it's going to be really fun to see how it plays out, especially with those 2 guys who are such ball-heavy players.
Lastly, we got
the big kahuna.
Yeah, Paul George, the second guy that was like, is he going to go to the Celtics? Where is he? Is he going to go to the Cavs? Where is he going to end up?
Yep.
And it ends up going with the reigning MVP, Russell Westbrook, to OKC.
Definitely a shocking move, to say the least. There's a lot of rumors of Paul George and Russell Westbrook with their contracts, expiring next season.
And taking their talents to LA.
Will they take their talents to LA? That's the question. Who knows? But that's for the future. This year, we get to see Paul George and Russell Westbrook on the same team. A little bit of a flashback for Russ when he's playing with another all-star and Kevin Durant, obviously. And we'll see what happens with this dynamic. Once again, it's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll be interested. They were the 5th seed this last year, and I definitely could see them moving up a couple spots. It'll be interesting to see how they play together. Definitely having 2 all-stars is a lot better than 1.
It is. I mean, and they didn't really even give that much to get him. So the Thunder ended up giving up Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. Obviously, less than what a lot of people thought they were going to get for Paul George. based off the rumors, it sounded like the Pacers did not want Paul George in the Eastern Conference. Definitely seemed like some bad blood there. Paul George didn't want to be a Pacer anymore, and they made sure he wasn't going to be around the Pacers anymore.
Josh, so what was the best move to you personally? I'll answer this after you.
Well, I think I got two answers. I think the first one, long term, it's Jimmy Butler. I think the Timberwolves secured a great future for their franchise. The next 3-4 years will be awesome with Jimmy Butler, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Andrew Wiggins. But for this season, I love the Paul George and Russell Westbrook dynamic. I think it brings a ton of excitement to OKC, and maybe, just maybe, they can convince Paul George to stay in OKC. That would be absolutely insane. I'm a little bit wishy-washy on this whole James Harden thing and the Gordon Hayward thing. At the end of the day, I don't think the Celtics got enough to even come close to the Cavs yet in a playoff series. And same when it comes to the Rockets were already the 3rd seed in the West, so I don't know how much better can they get. I mean, are they really going to be able to dethrone the Warriors? Probably not. So that's why I would say the Timberwolves set themselves up for a great future.
I actually really enjoyed the Celtics getting Gordon Hayward trade. I think that it was smart for the team for where they were at right now to say, let's try and go get an extra star and see what we can do and run the table. While I think it might be in vain, I think that they did a good job. I think they definitely have a chance to do something special, and who knows what Tatum's going to end up being like, and maybe they can make something special, and even if it's just one run, it only takes one to win a championship.
True.
And so the second is, I also think Jimmy Butler found a good place in the Timberwolves, like you said. Just a good spot with a bunch of young players and having kind of a more veteran guy. And, you know, with Karl-Anthony Towns already kind of, I think, established himself as the young leader, and Jimmy Butler not really playing the leader role that well, I think it'll be good for him. And maybe just be a very dynamic role player, if you could even call him that, because he's going to score so much points. As always, I'm always more excited for more sports and more basketball. Tell us who you think the best trade was, what your team should do to get to where you want it to be. And as always, if you like this video, like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. I'm KLP's Josh. This is Backseat Sports, and we'll see you next video. I mean, that's just crazy. It's not like he's not starting from the bottom.
No.
He's straight for the throat.
In many people's minds, he's taking on the best boxer of all time. 49-0, undefeated record, obviously, with Floyd Mayweather. It's going to be one heck of a fight. Obviously,